Hey, how you guys doing tonight? It is a time check 8:04 here in China. Welcome to tonight's discussion. Boy, is it going to be a big one. An exciting day here in China, and I bet it's been an exciting day in the Western media wherever you are. Let's do a big hello to a bunch of the known names throughout the chat forum there. Hi, Ben. Thank you for coming by. MP, thank you. I think I saw Hang earlier around there. Frankie boy, good to see you here again. A lot of well-known names in the chat there, and we have a PTE Wolf Warrior audience and the geopolitical audience on board for tonight's show. We got a lot to unpack here. We're going to try to do it in an hour or a little. And without further ado, of course, you know I'm going to bring on the star of your show and of your channel. It's AJ. AJ, welcome. How are you? How are things going there?
Thanks for the great introduction, Alex. As usual, great introduction in terms of the music, the visuals. You never fail to disappoint. And
Thank you.
yeah, it's a pleasure to be here, and pleasure to see everyone, all the regulars who come into our chat. Really appreciate you guys. Really appreciate all the moderators. And yes, you're right. A lot of news every day. There's major news, Alex. There's never a
Mm.
dull moment. Never a dull moment. Every day is something major happening around the world.
Yeah, a lot to unpack tonight. We got a lot of stuff I need to show you locally here. What's going on in the mega city here of Chongqing? As you know, 32 million people in this entire municipality. It's a big one and a lot to talk about. I'm actually in day 21 of COVID preventions. That's right. Yours truly is stuck to his home, but that's okay. I'm keeping good spirits and a lot of stuff to unpack. We have seen Western media go absolutely haywire on the last few nights' events. Things have kind of calmed down, as you saw a rebound in the Hong Kong Stock Exchange this morning. That should calm the mood of a few investors down, especially from the Asian front. AJ, I'm sure your BBC feed has been riddled with news coming out of when I woke up, somebody left a message saying millions. They used the term millions.
Yeah.
And we know very well what's going on here. This is a playbook. And actually, I was talking to a couple of people this morning about this, and they were getting into details that some of this outside interference internally from NGO organizations that they pretty much it's a whatever they want to order on the menu for disturbing let's say a peaceful protest. They seek the opportunity to gear it up a notch, and there is financial rewards for that. And of course, some of this is speculation, but it wouldn't surprise me. We've seen uprisings as you watch Brian Berletic's channel in Thailand. It's happened in Myanmar. And this is the tune of non-government organizations. I've even met some of these people personally outside of China. I can tell you that they are not on my invite list for the near future. I mean, this is right out of a playbook. I would call it a playbook. And as much as they want China to fail, as much as they want it to fail, even with COVID, can you believe how sick that is to
Yep.
see these people wanting to see a country of 1.5 billion fail, and then have the audacity, like the White House, to issue a formal statement yesterday saying, China, you guys need to really rethink what you're doing. Really, that is rich coming from a country that saw over 1 million deaths
Yep.
and over 750 million people infected. And of course, we hear some long COVID as well. You and I, AJ, we have a little bit of a difference of opinions on how things should be dealt, and when it comes to COVID preventions and lockdowns and stuff. Let's hear from you. What are you hearing over there in the United Kingdom this morning?
We don't have that much of an opinion. No. Look, I completely agree with China's COVID policy. Look, they have a huge population, and they don't want to have millions of deaths like they do in the United States. And obviously, saving lives is more important and than the economy, and the Chinese government have decided have decided to do that. But the economy is not suffering that much. I mean, you still got a
Hmm.
growth of 3 to 4%, which is way higher than all of the Western governments. China is still running, and with one hand behind its back. So it's still happening. And look, end of the day, all I want is China to have an end plan, end goal, to say,
Yeah.
look, this is what we're doing. This is the plan. We're going to do lockdowns until this day. We're going to open up this day. So we just want to basically a plan to be made, so everyone can see the light at the end of the tunnel. I think that's all I was asking for. But
Yeah, I think that's where we have a difference where, and not to confuse the viewers, AJ and I agree on 99.99 infinity on things, but I think where I see your enthusiasm of wanting things to happen faster here. And I,
yeah,
I I want the same too, AJ. I do want the same, but being in here and seeing the way things are operating, they're going to stick with their plan. I know it's just eating me up too that I would like to, say, hey, the next morning, AJ, China's opening, get a ticket, get on here, let's do a show together in the studio. And I know you want that too. Um, so it's just I'm trying to taper your enthusiasm a little bit here because this has also taken much longer than I thought too.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
And it's surprising all of us. What is the right way to exit? Does China double down on their investment in R&D again? They've done well on their contact tracing app. They've done well on the green, yellow, red application that notifies its 1.5 billion population if it's safe to go out. Do you got to stay home? Do you got to quarantine? Totally understand it from your standpoint. You're enjoying your life, and London life has moved on, even though people are, getting over it. And it's probably hard for you because you love this country so much. You've put so much time. You've lived here. It's got to be hard for you to see that it's not open yet, and you want it to. You want it to open, and that's what I think that when it comes to this enthusiasm, I want it open as much as you do, and I share that passion of you.
oh yeah, no, thanks for that, thanks for that. As for England, you know the newspapers have died down this morning. I was looking at a lot of newspapers, and a lot of it, lot of the stuff that's happening in China has kind of died down. I think yesterday was fully blown. Every single paper, every single news article, every single anchor was covering it. And the only thing covering it today is Rishi Sunak's statement that the golden era with China is over. But Alex, when when did we ever have a golden era with China? I don't think
Yeah,
we ever had.
I agree, AJ. And let me add to that, AJ. It's amazing that and I used to really love traveling and going to the United Kingdom. Okay, of course, I'm Canadian, I'm part of the Commonwealth, but what does that hold in today's society? Not much, really, to be honest with you. If you're Canadian traveling to the United Kingdom, you're in the other passport line. Remarkably true. Yes, it is. But yeah, the golden era, it seems that the UK seems to be biting itself in the foot every time it's got something good. It wants to throw the toys out of the pram and mix it all up. I think we're seeing the results now. It's clear that this Brexit, whether you agree with it or not, whether people have voted, I'm not talking about you, AJ, I'm talking about the audience, where people have voted oh, we got to get out of Brexit, immigration, or oh, we're paying too much money to the NHS, or oh, we're doing this and that. Well, a lot of things have come to light here. Immigration is up big time.
Yeah,
Okay.
exactly.
The currency has dropped. I think when pre-Brexit, it was probably $1.50 to the dollar. Now we're sitting at around 119, 120 handle. It's been bouncing around. You called it, by the way, when it was crashing down, pretty much to the second. So well done on that. And now they have China in their sights. Why on earth would you want to? And this is a remarkable thing. People go, oh, you know, I'm glad if we cut off buying items from China. We shouldn't buy them. It's not China that is wanting those products in the country. What you have to remember, it is the manufacturer. It is the pardon me, the store departments, the people that run businesses there. They're the ones that are demanding the product to sell to you. It's
Yeah,
not like China's woke up in the morning and said, "Hey, we got to make 100,000 widgets." No, they get orders from their buyers. They are the suppliers. They go on a cargo ship or air freighted over. They get rebranded and sold to you. This is the decision of your country to outsource the manufacturing of the product. This isn't China's problem. And you know what? You should be enjoying this. You should be embracing getting great prices. And I know most of the goods shipping costs have now dropped considerably, but most of the goods have been relatively stable in the electronics and the most important things that people need. Where it's skyrocketed is pretty much stuff to keep you alive, like food, and that's, you can't blame that on China. But why on earth would your prime minister of the United Kingdom want to go out into the world stage and make a statement like that? That's just absolutely ludicrous.
yeah, exactly, Alex. And you go to bars, right? And I go to
Yeah, of
bars as
course.
well. And sometimes, when you're young and single, you see this beautiful woman across the bar, and you try and talk to her. She ignores you. You try and dance with her. She ignores you. And every single guy in the club wants her, and you're like really desperate for her. And you keep trying to chat to her, and she like ignores you. And at the end of the night, you're so pissed off. You're like, oh, I didn't want her anyway. And you tell everyone, "Oh, she's ugly. Don't worry, I don't want her anyway." And this is exactly how like Rishi Sunak's acting. Like, he wants to have a relationship with China, and because she has basically jilted him and ignored him, and now he's like, "Oh, we don't need China anyway." I think that's the attitude that Rishi Sunak's doing.
Yeah, I was watching it. I was seeing him talk, and he seemed very sheepish, in his response and the way he was saying it. He felt actually nervous,
Yeah.
even talking about it. It's what a strange guy to be running a country. What is he doing it for?
Yeah, well, we all know he's not really running the country. The
Hmm.
same people who are running Boris, running Liz Truss, are now running him as well. He's doing
Mm,
exactly the same policies as Boris was doing, exactly the same policies that Liz Truss was doing, and now he's the ultimate puppet. And yeah, it's a shame for him to act like that, because I had a little bit of respect when he was. When when he was chancellor, he avoided talking bad about
hmm.
China, avoided talking bad about Russia. And I thought maybe, when he becomes prime minister, he might do the same thing, try and build relationships with China and Russia. But no, it didn't happen. Still the same old puppet. And
Mm,
unfortunately, that's the state of the British government we have today. And it's a real shame, Alex, absolute shame. And yeah, Britain is not going to improve. I mean, ever since they voted for Brexit, it was on its way down. They stopped literally all their trade with Europe, with all the red tape and expenses. Most of the companies just stopped trading, or they've moved into Europe. All the financial sectors are moving into Frankfurt, Paris,
hmm.
or Amsterdam. And slowly, this is chipping away in the British industry.
Sure.
BMW has moved to China. Many other companies are
Amazing.
moving out of England, and people are moving their money out of London now. I mean, there was a time when London was called Londongrad, and the reason it was called Londongrad because you had a lot of Russian oligarchs coming into London, and
Sure.
buying properties and putting their money into it. But now all that is gone. All the Russian oligarchs are moving their money away from London because they've all been sanctioned, most of it. And then people around the world can see what London has done to the Russians, and now they're scared, thinking, "Oh, we might be next." So everyone's moving their money out of London. Slowly, the sector is being chipped away. And don't you think at that moment you need to start building relationships with the second largest economy in the world, soon to be the largest? I mean, it's inevitable that China will become the largest economy. And what's Britain
Sure.
going to do then? Is next prime minister going to be like, "Oh, please, can you trade with us? Can you give us a free trade deal?" I mean, is it? it's just going to happen sooner or later. China is going to be the number one economy within the next 10 years. And Britain is just shooting itself in its foot by
Yeah,
ruining all.
we've seen this, and it's not just the UK. I mean, if you're experiencing high energy bills this winter, you know that this has all got a lot to do with the big collective West rallying behind the Ukraine and Zelensky writing unlimited checks. I mean, we are talking staggering amounts of money that is going there. That is a country that has been, well, I mean, it's been we don't want to get into heavy politics on the Ukraine tonight, but I mean, that is a money pit if there isn't one, and it's going to continue to take away the money from the European Union, the United States, Canada, Australia. And what is amazing is all that money that continues to get poured down that drain, that country, they're using artillery for both sides. But I mean, if you're from the collective West financing the Ukraine, you got to remember that these artillery bombs are falling on that nation. It's not that they're paying Ukraine money to fight another country around the world. No, it's actually they're blowing up their own infrastructure. And I've talked to Patrick Lancaster, and for you guys that aren't aware of this, Patrick Lancaster is a freelance journalist, crowdfunded journalist, is a good friend of mine. He tells me that the staggering amount of equipment that's come in, the bombs and the bombardment, he just says the country is actually blowing itself up with the help of NATO-backed countries, spending millions and billions of dollars every time they put a missile in the air, whether it's aimed at Russia or where it's aimed at whoever. It is blowing up parts of the infrastructure, blowing up apartments, blowing up roadworks, blowing up you name it, and it's never ending. And this is crazy because this continues to go on. There's no diplomatic channels open, which is strange, very strange for the European Union that talks about peace and trying to get everybody on board. And this is going to continue. So what happens is we continue to see economies get dragged down. These Western economies are in deep trouble. Inflation is rampant. It's not going to calm down anytime soon. I think 10% or 9%, whatever the last reported number of the US is, that is being generous. I think it's a lot higher than that. If you just go over an average grocery bill or look at a lot of the monthly payments for electricity, that's not happening in Russia. The food is not skyrocketing in Russia. Who's going to call whose bluff here? My feeling to end this, and I think that the West has a very good idea that this Ukraine thing is not working out. They're going to try to deviate. They're going to deviate to China. And that's why it doesn't surprise me to see the Prime Minister of England come out over the airwaves and say, well, the golden era is over. No person with any half of a brain would say that when the largest, one of the largest manufacturing countries in the world is China, and your population relies on them. It's really reckless. It's irresponsible, and it costs you, people that are watching tonight. It's your governments that are ramping your cost of living up, and these mistakes started a long time ago, but it really exposed us to what's happened here during the major outbreak with the COVID-19, where what the behavior of some of these countries. I'm going to pass that on to AJ, and then once you're done, I'm going to show you some remarkable stuff that's going on here in China during this intense time here to try to combat and get this thing under control. Fire away, AJ. I mean, are things going to get better? Or is this going to be one hell of a long, cold winter?
Yeah, I think the word you were trying to come up with is called economic suicide, and this is what Rishi Sunak has
Well
done.
said.
He's caused economic suicide to the British government, and UK is heading down, Alex. There's no doubt about it, and eventually, Rishi Sunak's going to be gone in like 10 years. There'll be another prime minister taking over the place, but it's going to be too late by then. I mean, there needs to be action now, and there needs to be relationships built with the rest of the world. And this was all part of Brexit. This is why they voted for Brexit, because they wanted to be independent from Europe. They wanted to have their own foreign policy. And I remember when everyone was voting for Brexit, and everybody was saying, "Oh, we're going to have our own sovereignty. We're going to start from beginning with the relationships with the rest of the world. We will be, this will be our launch pad to become great again." And then they left Europe and they started liaising themselves with the Americans, with the USA, and they just followed the policies, foreign policies of the United States, and this is what this is the downfall of the United Kingdom, unfortunately. Scotland is already banging drums about independence, and I'm pretty sure they will be gone. Um, and don't forget, Scotland is very important to England because you know Scotland have all of the northern oil fields and the gas fields. They also have all of the renewable energy, all in Scotland, and they also have some of the biggest military bases in Scotland as well. And the most important thing, Scotland has all of the water as well, because Scotland's had all the mountains. They have lots of fresh water. So Scotland is very, very important for English economy, and without Scotland, Britain is literally going to be in survival mode. They're going to have to import all of their water. They're going to have to buy more oil and gas for themselves from abroad. Many things. So these short-sighted, government officials, prime ministers, who have no clue about how the world works. He's more interested in having a beer with Justin Trudeau and making a fool out of himself and wearing matching shirts with Justin, rather than running his own country. And yeah, as a Briton, it's very embarrassing to see the Prime Minister acting this way and destroying the British economy. And
Yeah, it's
yeah, it's
well, my
just
heart goes out to all those people in the UK this summer or this winter that are hoping the summer is going to come quickly. Let's sidestep over to something I wanted to bring up here. I mean,
sure.
here's a big myth that was just blown out of the water here, as I call it. The myth that Chinese can't have an opinion and Chinese can't actually have a peaceful demonstration or a protest. Right then and there, that has hit every major newspaper around the world. Yeah, the Chinese, if they get upset, they'll say something about it. Yeah, maybe they'll go to the street and say something about it. But where are the people that were saying, wow, they're not allowed to, they can't protest, they can't have a disagreement, they can't. It's right there, guys. There's that myth blowing out of the water. And allegedly, there was millions, apparently. One thing I did, though, I did get a really rather anonymous email in my inbox today. And I'm going to bring that up later this week on a weekend live stream on my channel. It was pretty interesting going into details where some people feel that there are some NGOs working in this country. And if that comes to be any truth to that, boy, oh boy, I wouldn't want to be working in some of these NGO, non-government organizations here, especially in Southeast Asia. None of them have pretty much, there are some good ones out there. Don't get me wrong. Some of them have a great cause, but man, you just had to watch the Western media this morning to see every parrot from, NED to all the way up to every NGO that was on TV spewing absolute nonsense. Couple things that I want to say. Congratulations to China tonight in a few hours. The Shenzhou, I believe I pronounced that probably incorrect, but 15, a manned mission to the Chinese space station will be taking off at 11 p.m. I think it's 11:03 Beijing time. This is quite special. They're going to be trading spots and positions with the other astronauts are on board there. If you've followed my channel last couple of weeks, I've got onto the space buzz here and really enjoying it, really seeing a country that has been absolutely extraordinary in space. Not only is China amazing at space, but as you know, here in Chongqing, we are in a pandemic prevention mode. The city started about two and a half to 3 weeks ago. I've been pretty much isolated in my apartment. It used to be I could visit around in my community. Just to give you an example, you could go out once a day to the store. Then that was dialed back a bit to one person per household, and that was dialed back to you can go within your building quarters, and slowly dialed back as cases started to move higher. And it was well organized. You can see the videos on the iChongqing channel. It was well organized. And that is prevention. Remember, 517,000 volunteers now in the city, in the municipality here of Chongqing. That's 500,000 people. So if you see people on TV walking around in PPE outfits, most of them are volunteers. They're not getting paid for it. They are. So there's something I wanted to show you. And I think that a lot of things that people don't understand is when they see China building backup emergency, we'll call them quarantine. Well, let's call them quarantine hospitals to make it easier for the Western audience. There's this sense of, wait a minute, why does China have to build it? Are people in the parking lot? China does this type of preparation in case the ICU units, the intensive care units, come under pressure. They don't want to disrupt their local hospitals that have either cancer patients or people that need heart surgery or people that have surgeries. They don't want to push them back or have to really delay them like what happened in Canada. There was a 6-month to 1 year waiting list due to this. So what Chongqing has done is they have decided to do what we call a makeshift hospital. And there's a few of them going on here. Some of them are 65,000 square meters. Some of them are 380,000 square meters. Some of them can fit 88,000 extra beds. Some of them can fit 26,000 extra beds. And you might think, well, where are they putting them? In a soccer stadium? Are they, are they putting these people? And this is COVID preventions. Let's play this for you guys so you guys can have a look here at what a city of 32 million is doing. And here you see here is what the facilities and workers came out to put this project together. They built this very makeshift hospital in 108 hours. And you guys can just have a look at this. This is pretty amazing of what we're seeing here. And this is a race against the clock. And this is to accommodate anybody that tests positive or whether they've been in direct contact. To my understanding, it's people that are sick. It's isolating them in these certain parts. And you can see that the city, you name another country that can do this. I'd beg to differ that there's another nation out there that actually cares about its citizens as much as the Chinese do. But you can see the thousands and thousands and thousands of workers putting this together and had it completed. You can see there the clock's ticking there, 72 hours. That's 3 days into it. Look at the size of this. Look at the size of this, guys. And this is not far from where I live. This has been going on. Imagine the logistics and the concentration and the strategy. And now what they're doing is they are taking care of their people. But I bet you haven't seen this on the Western media news. And there it is there, guys. So, amazing. Absolutely amazing. And that's how it's done here. That's true. There's no fake photography there, but that is one big wow. I agree with you, Charles. Wow is right. AJ, I don't know if you see that on your TVs in the United Kingdom, but what's your thoughts on that?
No, we're not going to be showing anything good about China, anything positive. All I see is a bunch of people on the BBC holding white paper, and they're supposed to call it an A4 protest on A4 size white paper. And these white papers are not even A4 size. Some of them are A3, some of them are A2, some of them are even triangles and circles. So they obviously got their got their facts mixed up. But the way the BBC is basically trying to show these protests, they're trying to show that it's nationwide and there's millions, but there's not millions. I mean, throughout the camera angles that they've shown and all the footage that they've shown, we're talking about a very small minority of maybe thousands. And these are not violent protests, by the way. I think it got violent on a separate issue with the iPhone factory as well. I think
Hmm.
that was a separate issue. That was based on work condition. It was nothing to do with the COVID. I think that was them.
Yeah.
Um, because these guys were basically held against their will, wasn't being paid. They wasn't allowed to leave the factory, so things got a bit heated. But that was on a separate issue based on working conditions. But the actual A4 white paper protests, uh, you know, we're talking about a few thousand here and there, and compared to a country of 1.4 billion, that's less than 0.000000001%. I mean, Britain has not really seen protests since the days of the Iraq War. And I was in London in the protests in the Iraq War, and there was about 2 million people in the streets. That's what you call a real protest. When you have 2 million people in the streets, blocking the whole city, putting the whole city to a stop. And I think 32 million people protested worldwide. Those are real protests. That's what you need to set your benchmark on, not a couple of thousand here and there. And these guys obviously, there's a lot of stories coming out that some of these guys, they don't even speak the dialect. They were calling
Yeah,
in
we saw that in
Beijing.
Chengdu. We saw that in
Yeah,
Chengdu,
that's
where
right.
people were basically telling them, first of all, you're speaking Mandarin when they're using the Chengdu dialect there, and completely, some people were just calling BS. Like, what are you guys talking about? Now,
Exactly.
it's not to, we're not trying to say that some people aren't displaced. You got to remember, some companies aren't doing very well, and some of them are we'll call them the mom and pop shops. The local little seller that's got a restaurant, the street vendor. These are the people that really need help. And I think it's the municipality is trying, people are trying. There's lots of charities that are trying to help these people. If you do know people that do need help, especially in Chongqing, write us. We will do what we can at iChongqing to try to either get the right people out there to help them, or if there's anything that we can do. If you're knowing somebody that's either displaced or needs someone to talk to, there are definitely help there for them in the city here. I can say that from the group here at iChongqing. We deeply are concerned about anybody that is going through a difficult time right now. It's tough, it's difficult, but we also understand that we need to, be responsible here and, take care of one another. I'm going to move on to another topic here where I think it's important that we try to look past this here and try to understand that these measures that are in place have worked to date. I think after the big press conference this afternoon here in Beijing, the authorities did speak about, some once again reiterating the 20 steps to what they feel is the next approach to slowly open the country. We have moved down from 21 days quarantine to enter this country to 14 days, then to 10, and now it's a 5 and 3 package. I see that probably in the next few months maybe being dialed back once we get through this wave here. What has happened and what continues to happen is, I think there's an immense amount of research going into how do you soft land an opening. No one's expecting the country to just throw its doors wide open, all that hard work in 3 years to be thrown away. Yes, some people are going to not agree with that policy, and they're going to say, hey, China, just open up your doors, let it rip. That's not going to happen. I think also the Chinese are going to be very slow at actually leaving their country to travel around the world, because they know it's waiting for them in other nations. And it may not be the same measures that are taken in China here. So they might feel a little bit displaced getting on an airplane, maybe seeing people without masks and stuff like that. You got to understand that this is a country that has taken responsibility for its people. The numbers speak for itself. It's very clear there. It's very clear. Undisputable. Some people would say, well, it's fake, or they could be giving false numbers. I can tell you, being here well over a year in a city like Chongqing, if things are going to show up and we're going to see what we saw in New York City. Oh my, what you see. You could see a documentary on what happened in New York many years ago. That city went through some serious pain in March of 2020 for a month and a half and saw over 35,000 people die in such a short time. So, is it the Western countries, the one that are giving China the lesson on how to deal with it? Or is China just going to say, you know what, guys, thank you very much for your information. We're going to see how we can grow from that. But what we're going to do is we're going to stick to what we think we're going to do. And that is to slowly understand how to open this country. I think it could also come down to more attention put on the applications. Like we have a contact tracing app here in China, and it's very effective. Everybody knows about it. It's just like a Spotify app. You know, you just whenever you need it, you just press on it. It's more of a kind of like I got to open up my app. I got to scan it quickly. So it's nothing that is tiresome. It's there, but we know why it's there. And we understand that if something happens, a major outbreak happens, that app can quickly isolate when it needs to isolate. And that's how it works. There's no magic to the story. I mean, they've invented it. They've pumped a lot of money into it. It works. The testing costs a lot of money. And I think as we move closer to where everyone's thinking March could be a day where, you know, a lot of restrictions get loosened up. We don't know that. That's just hypothetical. But if that happens, I think you're going to see another level here of what would we call it? Moving away from the traditional way of testing, where we might go into something more of a self-testing, where you get self-test kits. Maybe I'm just speculating here again, that maybe these kits will be scanned by yourself, kind of dropped off at post boxes, like not post boxes, but, you know, boxes where a lab might pick them up and update your phone. I mean, it's already in place. They're doing it with some of the schools already. I've been told by a couple of expats living here. So these are just some ideas that I think that could be interesting. They're going to work it out. There's a big government here. They have the money to do it, and they have the know-how. There's a lot of brains walking around here. Let's just see if we can get AJ back here. I don't know if he's behind the scenes here. I think there he goes. He's come back. I mean, you and I have talked about this many times, AJ, about these measures on how do you do a soft landing? How does a country, what do you think? How does a country like China maneuver its way out of this?
Well, I remember the last time China came out of a lockdown, and they had an almost a 21% GDP growth that quarter. And I don't know if you remember this. This was a couple of
Mm-hmm.
years ago, around the quarter from January to March. Everything was full steam ahead, and people were happy. People were spending money. People were traveling all over the country. People were going out of the country, coming into the country. So everything was going fine at that point. But I think
Mm-hmm.
China didn't want that. I think that was a too fast of a growth. And I think what Xi Jinping had to do was clamp down on a lot of Chinese companies and tech companies, because they were growing too fast. And I think that sometimes if you grow too fast too soon, it does cause problems. And I think yeah, it will have to be some sort of soft landing, and maybe do it in a phased approach or something. Say like 1 week you do this, next week we do this, next week we open up this, next week we open up that. So I think it's going to be some sort of phased approach where they will open up each sector very, very slowly. Could be even a few days at a time. I think that's the only way they can do it. I've sent a link to you, Alex, as well, and I just
Yeah,
wanted to.
just trying to open it up here. It
Yeah.
might be stuck behind a
Oh,
paywall
firewall.
here.
Oh, I
Yeah.
see.
Let's have a look here.
Let me see if I can. But
Yeah.
basically, what I wanted to kind of show to people is the fact that Britain. wasted almost 40 billion on track and trace system. You mentioned that this track and trace system in China works, but the one in
Hmm.
Britain did not work, and they wasted at least 37 to 40 billion on it, and that is a lot of money to have on a system that does not work. And I mean, you can see the proof here. I mean, why spend that much money on a COVID system and a COVID plan when you have no intention for it to work? And it's never worked, Alex. It's never ever worked. They've just left it as it is. They thought, you know what, we don't want to spend any more money. Just leave it as it is.
That's
And
staggering amount of money.
yeah, and this is how the British people are treated in UK. And I have actually read another article, and Britain follows United States policies, and I've seen a lot of articles coming out of the US that one of the main reasons, one of the main reasons that they do not mind all of these people being killed in the United States is because most of them are older, elderly, or sick, and they thought, you know what, this is a drain to our system, this is a drain to our economy, so just let them die. And I think that there's a lot of people in the United States who are saying, talking that kind of sentences, saying, you know what, these guys are a drain to our system, the elderly are a drain, it's costing our economy this much. If we let them die, we can save this much amount of money. And I'm not talking about one article. I'm seeing a lot of articles, and a lot of people are actually saying that. And it seems like same thing happened in UK as well. They just didn't care about the elderly. Well, if they died, they died. They don't have to pay the pensions. They don't have to pay the welfare, and it'll save them a lot of costs. And I think that's the way the West has been going. And so they don't really care about the people, to be honest. It's all about money, and that's what I wanted to kind of
Yeah,
raise.
and I agree with you on that, AJ. You know what baffles me, and here's what baffles me, and I want the viewers to really listen up here. When you see people start using this term draconian lockdowns, or we even have somebody in here saying authoritarian lockdown. This one's a great one here. I'm going to put this one up on the screen. Astonishing how this channel denies the problem with authoritarian lockdowns and zero COVID fantasy instead of healthy lifestyles, vitamin D, and early treatment. Okay, let me just brief you guys on something I decided to do a couple of days ago, and that was research. Research what other countries around the world did during this time. Let's have a look at some of these numbers, shall we? Okay, let's have a look at Australia. And I'm going to zoom in here so you guys can just have a look at some of these here. Australia lockdown 52 days, Austria 28. Brazil 47, Germany 28, Ireland 67, Malaysia 83 days lockdown, Singapore 55, let's say Thailand 67, England 103, Northern Ireland 102, Wales 112, Oregon 222 days in the United States of America, and so on and so on and so on. Where is the intelligence of people where they can get in their heads that their own countries did this, but they failed when they did it? They locked down their citizens. Some countries even locked out their own people from coming back to the country. Australia, sorry. And yeah, I mean, where are these people where they're coming down so hard on China? And I'm going to tell you, this term lockdown is very deceptive here, okay? It's more, China has been open internally for 3 years, pretty much. Now, COVID preventions, lockdowns, a little bit different, guys. A lockdown to me, and I spoke to a lot of my friends that experienced them in other countries. I did it in Thailand. Man, a lockdown is a lockdown. They even banned bloody alcohol for 6 months in Thailand while I was there. And nothing happened, and businesses got crushed. But what they try to do here is they try to scale it down and scale it up. If things are getting intense, they scale down, they scale up the restrictions. If the numbers start to fall, they immediately start to make the regulations and things a lot easier for people. And it's astonishing. It's absolutely, I'm going to use that word, simple health living, astonishing, that people still think that using that word authoritarian lockdown, that's not the case here. It's a case of a country of 1.5 billion and a party that actually cares for its people. If they didn't care, they wouldn't be spending billions and billions of dollars testing, coming up with these successful applications. Man, that really rattles me, AJ.
Yeah, so I'm gonna reply to that young gentleman who sent that comment. So scientifically, where does vitamin D come from? It comes from the sun, right? So if you don't get enough sun, you're lacking in vitamin D, and this is a scientific fact. You get vitamin D from the sun. And what country has more sun than anywhere else in the world? And I'm talking about India here. India has lost more people to COVID than the whole world put together, and I'm talking more than the United States. Why? Because India has not counted all of the people who have died of COVID, and everybody know the official figures that India sends out is false. It's more like 7, 8 times the figure, because the only people that India has been counting is in the big cities. So what they don't count is all of these people who have been working in the big cities. Then everything was shut during COVID, and they went back to their villages, and they've been spreading it into their villages. And a lot of people died in their villages, and people who die in villages are not counted. So the true figure is 6 to 7 times the amount of people who have died in India. And India,
I think we might have lost AJ there.
so how can you
There
say,
you go.
vitamin D treatment and all of, because vitamin D it comes from the sun. Everybody knows that. I mean, scientifically, that guy doesn't know what he's talking about. I mean,
Well,
back
I've
to
got
you.
one more quote of him up on the screen here. It says, Alex, you're using the exclusive Klaus Schwab, Bill Gates, Great Reset plans. Every major country that used lockdowns was wrong. That's right. Most of the country, I'm not going to say used lockdowns was wrong. I was going to say most countries failed. You're right. They did fail. But they didn't have a contact tracing app that has kept millions and millions and millions of Chinese people. And this is this is the issue that people don't understand, that in Chinese society, the people care and love each other. This is a country not built on individual people, selfishness, let it rip mentality. Oh, it's happening over there. It won't happen over here. How selfish of a person can it be where you're saying that a country like China had or is making excuses or having? Do you think that this country wants to have intense COVID measures put in place because it's got nothing better to do and there's some grand plan behind this? That is absolutely ludicrous. It's just crazy to even try to comprehend that. Living here in China and understanding the policies here, that people care about their neighbor. They care that even if one life is lost, 517,000 people in this very city, out that window right out there, are trying on a day-to-day basis to save as many lives as possible. If this was a let it rip mentality back in January of 2020, boy oh boy, we'd be 7, 8, 9 million Chinese people dead. And I'm sorry, they're just not going to accept that. The government's not going to accept that. And what have they done? Everything that they could to possibly save every single life possible. And we sit back in the collective West countries there, and we are trying to dictate to the Chinese people how to run this and say that, well, just because we failed, you should fail too. I'm so sorry. Wishful thinking. It's sick in the, when I think of people that have this mentality that they actually want China to fail. Really take a good look in the mirror tonight when you go to bed and ask yourself if you can seriously lose that loved one, that wife, that husband, that brother, that sister, that cousin, that grandma or grandpa, if you can accept losing someone when the government or the people that are working hard could save them. That is enough on this topic. I'm absolutely shocked to read these type of comments. They're just disgraceful. Go ahead, AJ.
No, I just wanted to completely agree with you. I'm also reading some of the comments, and Quantum has also said not only do you need the sun, but you also need magnesium and other vitamins for you to metabolize the vitamin C, which is correct. Which is correct. I mean, who goes to a hospital and say, "Oh, I've got COVID. Can you give me some vitamin D tablets?" And there is no scientific proof that vitamin D fixes COVID or anything like that. For him to come up and say something like that is almost ludicrous. So yeah, I mean, I just think, where do some of these people get the information from, Alex? And anyway, let's move on.
Yeah, moving on. There is quite a mission going on here tonight. I just wanted to once again bring up about the space station here. I'm not sure if you guys are aware of this, but the International Space Station is not really an international space station. They have actually banned the Chinese from actually taking part in that. So, well, what did China do? Voila, they built their own. And today we're seeing quite an important launch here at 11 o'clock. God be with them and be safe on that journey. China is really taking some serious steps forward. I think that is something, if you can earmark it, that's a couple hours from now, maybe 2 hours and 10 minutes from now. Yeah, we see some comments that the Russians are leaving from that as well. Of course, I don't think they feel very invited up there, but they are doing some collaborations with the Chinese. I mean, AJ, you're a guy that's really up on this, building and construction and infrastructure and electronics and stuff. I mean,
Yeah.
what's your thoughts on China's ambitions here in space?
I'm also a big enthusiast of space. Thanks for bringing it up, Alex. When I was a kid, I was absolutely fascinated with space and everything about space. I do have a lot of knowledge about space, and it's one of my hobbies. I do have a telescope as well, and I do know the stars, and it's one of my fascinations. And to see China, develop their space station, it's almost it's great to see. And I remember the days when when America basically said, oh, this is an international space station, but it's not really international, because they said, oh, except the Chinese, except this country, except that country. It's not an international space station. It's basically, if you follow the rules based order, and you are basically follow the American rules or United States rules, then you are allowed to participate in the International Space Station. If you are a puppet, basically. And the countries which do not follow the rules based order, they follow the international based order, they're the ones that usually get rejected. And I find it really rich that the all of these space enthusiasts coming from the United States, and I'm talking about past astronauts and people who work in NASA. They're saying, "Oh, China is not letting us go into the International Space Station. I believe they have alternative motives and stuff like that." And then they said, "Oh, they are not like us. When we had the International Space Station, we let everybody in, but China's not letting everybody in." I mean, that's BS. You can see in NASA's papers. This is open information. If you go to NASA's website, it clearly says, China is excluded from all, participating in any space program. And this is from the
Can I add to
1980s.
that? Can I
Yeah,
add
go
to
on.
that?
Yeah, go on.
There is something called the Wolf Amendment here, and you're right to bring that up. This was a law in 2013. Officials at NASA prohibited Chinese nationals from attending the Kepler Science Conference. A number of American scientists boycotted the meeting, with senior academics either withdrawing individually or pulling their entire research group. The statutory prohibition on NASA's use of appropriate funds for bilateral cooperation with China does not apply to activities that NASA has certified to Congress, but it was actually Congress that passed this Wolf Amendment to basically block China from taking part in the space stations or any future together. And that's why they're really spinning this military. They feel that China's putting this station on the dark side of the moon, and we can't see what's going on over there. It's crazy. Let me play you guys. And isn't that an extraordinary footage to watch? I can't wait to see this happen here. You're seeing
Sure.
footage here, live coverage of them on the launch pad.
Yep.
Just waving before they get into oh man, that is just
Yeah.
magic.
I must say, Alex, your two edits for the space videos were amazing. The edits were
Oh, thank
really,
you.
really first class. I was really impressed by your edits. Really improving. Your videos are absolutely,
Thank you.
first class.
Let's jump and play them. Just the starting sound clip of my video. If you guys want a good laugh, I'm going to play you the first couple of seconds so you can hear just how much nonsense is going on here, and the fear mongering that is going on here in the collective West about China's space program. What we're seeing here today, which is extraordinary. Isn't that interesting to watch? Man, I can't wait to grab a beer after this show to watch that, because it's going to be quite interesting. I'm going to switch gears here over to another video. Well, I've got everybody on here. Let me just make sure that I've got the right thing going here. So don't forget that, everybody, at about 11:03 Beijing time, little over 2 hours, you're going to be seeing that history again be made. I'm always nervous when they're manned missions. It gets you a little bit nervous because growing up watching the Space Shuttle Columbia stuff, I mean, it's stuff is very worrisome, and you got to understand this stuff is very, very heavy duty stuff. It takes years and years of practice. These people are absolutely amazing on what they have accomplished in space in such short time. I mean, the Chinese and the amount, I know I praise them on this, but they deserve to be praised. I mean, this is just absolutely amazing. Let's have a look at Western media has to say about this. Okay. Are you all right with that, AJ?
Yeah, sure.
All right. So we'll just do a little bit of a, this will get the audience going. Okay, here we go.
The race to the moon just got a little more intense. America has some major competition brewing on the other side of the world. China is right behind.
It is absolutely true that they are progressing very quickly.
Beijing is breathing down America's neck, looking for every opportunity to steal our nation's technology.
Space will eventually be weaponized, and certainly our adversaries know that, and they want to beat us to it.
We're in a space race today, just as we were in the 1960s. And the stakes are even higher.
China now has plans to take over the moon.
China's first space station, now spinning out of control, headed straight for us.
The U.S. barred Chinese astronauts from entering the International Space Station. China is doing it solo.
One thing is certain. China is a force to be reckoned with in the current space race.
All right, guys. Well, thank you, AJ, for letting me play that clip from my recent video. But I certainly got charged, and I think it was you that really inspired me to dig much deeper into not just some geopolitical things here. It's been quite a pleasure. I've been talking with you over the last few months, but you've inspired me to go a lot deeper into a lot of the things that China has been doing, especially in space or into their infrastructure. And it's from your motivation that I decided to put these series of space series together. I think it's 5 videos that Yulia and I have been working on during this time. We've released 2 on the channel already and 3 more to come. But yeah, I mean, this stuff is very exciting, huh?
Yeah, exactly. And I think the main thing is the future of what they're doing next, because this is just a launch pad of what's coming. The next big step is to launch this space telescope, and this space telescope is going to be very
Huge.
similar to Hubble, and it's got wide view, which means it can map the night sky. It can map all of the stars and all of the nearby galaxies, and this will do what Hubble did all these years ago. And the good thing is it's got so much of a wide view compared to Hubble. It can map the stars in 3 years what Hubble could do in 3,000 years, and that's how much more powerful that this telescope's going to be. And also, this telescope is going to be docked near the International Space Station, because one of the problems that Hubble had is when United States or NASA wanted to service Hubble, they used to send a manned spacecraft to Hubble, and it used to cost a lot of money, and then they used to return the spaceship back to Earth. But this telescope is going to be docked to the International Space Station, the Chinese one, and they're going to service it there, and they're going to upgrade all of the mirrors, and they're going to prolong its life, and it's going to be easily maintained, easily serviced.
Do we
And
have the name of it? Do you remember the name?
the name of it, no, I
Because I'm
think
going
if
to
you
bring
do,
it up for our viewers.
yeah, if you do the Chinese telescope, a successor to Hubble or something, and that's going to be the next biggest thing. And the fact that it can map the night sky in 3 years what Hubble could do in 30,000 years is a really major achievement. And China is next also planning to build a telescope on the moon as well. So obviously we know about the base they're building on the moon, but as part of that base, they're going to build a telescope on the moon, on the dark side of the moon. They're going to be mining. Yeah, I think you've already mentioned that in your video. They're going to be mining helium-3 and other precious metals and minerals. And there's going to come a time when we don't need to mine the earth, because of mining the earth is very, very polluting, and less and less materials are left to mine the earth. But there's going to come a time when we start mining asteroids, and this is a start. When you start mining the moon, the next step is to mine asteroids, and there is a
Yeah,
huge treasure trove of asteroids out there in the
you're
world.
right. That's my
And
next video.
yeah, and there's a one particular asteroid which is worth quadrillions, and this
Yeah,
asteroid has got gold and other rare earth minerals, and it used to be, yeah, basically it's a core of an core of a planet. So you can imagine the
yeah.
treasures that's inside this asteroid. It's got
And
gold
and, and apparently some of it, this can fuel some of these nuclear reactors that could be safe energy. I mean, Greta's going to be out of a job. If the dreams come true here of the Chinese space ambitions, that's for sure.
Yeah, I mean, if you want to, this is all going to be a good thing for humanity.
Hmm.
I'm not just talking about Chinese here,
Right.
because um, there was a space race back in the 60s and 70s with the Soviet Union, and this basically sped up technology, because all this technology that comes from space eventually ends up on Earth. Things like satellites and
Hmm.
GPS navigation system. This all started in space, and then eventually they started finding use for that in Earth. 3D printing started in space. Now they find use for it in Earth. All of these technologies have started from space, and this basically will mean more countries will be involved in a space race. The technologies will improve throughout humanity. People will be pushing out more onto space and exploring. This is only going to be good for humanity. It's not just for the Chinese. Chinese are there, to basically know that the space has a huge amounts of resources. There's huge amounts of potential out there, and the Chinese are the first to kind of try and make use out of that. But over the next years, you can still see United States pushing for the Artemis program. There's a European Space Agency as well, Japanese Space Agency. There's many other space agencies which are going to be.
Ukraine Space Agency, no?
You,
Well, they funded it. Maybe they're funding it. Who knows? I don't know.
yeah. Yeah, that's right. But yeah, there's a lot of exciting things happening, Alex. And yeah, if you found that telescope, it should be the next video, I think, because that telescope's
Yeah.
going to be amazing.
Yeah, and I think another thing that is amazing is that they're finding new metals and particles out
Yeah.
when they're doing this research. I was watching a documentary last night called OPPY, I believe it is. It's talking about the two robots that landed on Mars with NASA, and I really, when I was a kid growing up, I had the wallpaper on my wall, the Space Shuttle Columbia and Atlantis and all these, the Challenger and all that. And, that was a day where, NASA really was in their element. And now it's got, politics involved when the parties come in, they talk about, wow, we'll fund NASA, then they pull it, I mean, these things take a lot of time, a lot of money, a lot of patience, a lot of skilled people. And, I really feel a little bit bad for NASA. I mean, these scientists in there, there's a passion. There's a passion to accomplish things that maybe were in their wildest dreams. And when you have governments that are funding wars around the world, spending billions and billions of dollars of your taxpayers' money, when part of it, I'm not saying a huge amount of budget, but part of this can be put into R&D, into these, projects. And it's
Yeah.
really sad to see that NASA, who at one time, was the top dog in this. And here's the disturbing thing is NASA doesn't necessarily agree with the government in their Congress, their own house in the United States, passing these bills restricting them working with other, but they want to work with the Chinese. Of course they do. They're scientists. They can put the geopolitics aside. I mean, if there's any diplomacy, I think it's diplomacy with scientists. They want to do that. Why wouldn't they want to do that? Of course they have these ambitions. And here's the thing is that China would welcomely open their door to hiring a lot of these experts now. But one problem, they can't come and work for China because they're actually bound by this Wolf Amendment law, which is crazy. So it's kind of like, if we don't want to fund it, and then we're not going to let our scientists go, to another country to use their expertise. It's a real shame. And for all those people that are excited about space, I mean, I guess Elon gives us some hope. But I mean, he's got a new baby that he's struggling with here with that Twitter. Let's talk about Twitter for a moment here. I'm a small fry on Twitter. I haven't really focused on it, but I may get into it a little bit later here. He's really up against the wall here with his dispute. Apple's making the headlines here. Apple is threatening to pull the application from the App Store. Have you heard about that?
I have, yes, yes. I don't know what Elon Musk is doing. He's trying to run the Twitter company to the ground. And I can understand why he bought it because he's obviously based in China a lot with Tesla. He goes there a lot. He sees what China has in terms of his social media, and I think what he wants is some sort of Chinese version of Twitter where he can make a lot of money. He can use it for advertising. He can use it for videos, even have an alternative YouTube, even, and that's what he wants. And I think that's his dream. And rather than starting from beginning, he rather have something established and then work his way through that. But I think he's bitten more than he can chew. I mean, 5 years ago he said he's going to use his SpaceX to go to Mars. What happened to that dream? I mean, he keeps making these dreams and promises, and he just takes on too much. I mean, right now Tesla should be his main focus because Tesla is starting to lose market. He's starting to lose market share in China because all the other Chinese brands are catching up. Like BYD has had more sales than Tesla, and all the other countries around the world are catching up to Tesla as well. And there's going to come a time over the next year or two when Tesla does not have full market share in the electric car business anymore, and that's going to need that's going to need his full support, he's going to need all of his time. SpaceX needs a lot of his time, and I think he's pretty much given up on SpaceX right now. I think he's got too involved, and I think he's also been paid by the military as well to send SpaceX rockets over Ukraine to give them satellites access, I mean internet access as well. And I think he's crossed between his politics and keeping everyone else happy. And because of that, he's ruined his relationship with China. China says we do not want SpaceX anywhere near us, otherwise we'll blow it out of the sky. Because this is a huge security issue for us. Because if anything happens with Taiwan, you would use your SpaceX, satellites against us. So yeah, I think he's bitten off too much than he can chew. I mean, yeah, if he was focusing on Twitter alone, then I'm sure he would have made it great because he is a billionaire. He knows how to make a company successful. But I think he's just taken on too much, Alex, and I just do not think he will be able to make Twitter successful. And like you said, Apple are making Apple are making changes. Ex-employees which have been sacked, they are suing Twitter as well. He's up against it. The share prices have shot down. Twitter's not making
Yeah.
any money. So I think he is up against it. He will need his full time. I just do not think he has that much time to put into Twitter. But also going back to the space things, I also wanted to mention a few things before I forget. But also there's a few things that China is also doing, like they're building a solar panel, which is going to be beaming solar energy into Earth as well. So this is going to be a space-based solar power plant. And also, that's something that's coming in by 2030. China's also building a space elevator as well. So rather
Okay,
than
didn't know about
sending,
that.
yeah, rather than sending rockets to space, they're going to be sending it via an elevator, and it's going to save a lot
Wow.
of costs. The whole point of doing it is saving costs, and they don't have to spend a lot of money on rockets. They will send it via elevator. Because do you know why? Because China, a lot of people don't know that China is the roof of the world, and you have some massive mountains ranges in Tibet. And if you go from the top of these mountain ranges and you set up an elevator into space, it's not that difficult. The only problem they have is the kind of material they want to use. But they're looking at using graphene and also other composite graphite materials, which are very, very strong. And I think that's going to be happening very soon as well. Yeah, there's a lot of exciting stuff happening with space, and I think I'm most excited about the moon base, and China and Russia working together, and they have already said how they're going to power it. They're going to be using nuclear power to power the moon base, and it's going to be amazing. But I want to also go back to NASA. I think NASA had lost a really good opportunity here. When was the first manned mission? It was about 1960s. I mean, we're talking about at least 60 years ago. And 60 years ago is a long time. Humanity should have established itself more in space. They should have had moon bases already established by now.
Right.
I
That's
think,
interesting. I don't want to
yeah,
cut
go
you
on.
off, but I want to add to that. That comment right there, asking, and you make a very good point there, AJ, that should have been the springboard to development and to continue forward. But that might open up a really interesting conversation if you're sitting around a table, people that there are still quite a few people that actually believe certain things didn't happen. And I'm sure the comment sidebar box is going to go wild on that. But there is a lot of people. I put a poll up on one of my videos asking, do you think some of this stuff didn't or did happen? And it's interesting. You're going to get some people that say, well, if that technology was only 1/100th of a mobile phone and it managed to get us there, this is one technology that usually most technologies innovate themselves or develop even forward. What happened? Why did we stop at that? And and it's interesting. I think the people know where I'm going with this, but it'll definitely open it up for discussion. There were some people actually feel that it wouldn't surprise if this, or if it wouldn't surprise if that didn't happen or did happen, and it can bounce back and forth, and we can either call it conspiracy or we can call it something where a few of these people I know on the sidebar are definitely going to put up a good argument for it. But I mean, yeah, I don't know. What do you think?
I think I'm in both. I'm in both sides, really. I think back then in the 60s, they probably did have the technology to go to the moon. However, I think they probably filmed it separately in a separate bunker, because I think they probably did go there, but based on the technology to beam video to film videos in space and to bring it back, because there's a lot of issues filming videos, and you
Sure.
can't stream it live. You have to wait, and plus film technology at that point wasn't very mature, and they didn't test it how film technology would work in space, and there's many other technologies. But I think what they did two things at the same time. They landed probably on the moon, but on a separate studio they probably filmed it with a normal film setup, because you
This
can
is
see
this is interesting. We're
yeah,
getting
because you can see, if you look at the actual footage yourself, there's certain shadows, there's certain things that don't make sense. These stuff would not happen in space. This seems like much more of a studio setup with the way they've kind of put the lights and everything on, and
Mm.
I think they did it separately. But they probably did land, but they didn't have the first. They probably didn't film it in space. I think they filmed it in basically. And at the end of the day, people back then, you can easily fool people in the 1960s. You can say, yeah, we've landed. I mean, obviously people have seen the rocket fly from Cape Canaveral.
Mhm.
People know there's people in those rockets. People know that they went to the moon. So at the time, people didn't want to deny it, because they thought, yeah, it actually is happening. But I think they filmed it in a studio, just to kind of
I mean, I spoke to my mom about it this morning, and I got her opinion, and she said, "Well, I watched it take off." My mom's cute. I mean, my mom's cute. I mean, I want to actually really put together a video and do some deep diving into this, just to either come up with my own conclusion, because I don't think that I'm smart enough on this topic yet to come up with my conclusion yet, but I want to convince myself either way here on what did happen. And that's going to take, probably a few months of much research as I can. Of course, watching a lot of documentaries on this is not going to help either, but it's definitely, interesting. I think a lot of it, depending also on the generations, and maybe the younger generation might all believe it, and maybe some of the older generation might all believe it, and then the in-betweeners might say, wait a minute, I saw when the internet came in, and I saw when this came in. So so there's probably, it's probably split down the middle in our forum here. Let's ask the forum while we're at it. Let's pose a question to the forum, AJ. So we'll just say 1 if you believe this, or 2 if you believe that. Pose a question to them. Let's see what they think.
Oh, I can't post it on. I don't.
No, just come up with a question, and we'll just tell everybody. Pose. I mean, not post. Pose a question
Okay.
to our audience.
All right, guys.
So
I'll give you 3 options, guys. 1, you believe the United States and NASA that they landed on the moon and they filmed it on the moon. B, you believe my side of the story, where they went to the moon but filmed it in a studio. Or C, none of the above. They did not go to the moon, and they did not film it in the moon, and it was all fake.
Okay, so one is, let me do one is, again, I'm going to write it here. One is what?
1 is they actually went to the moon and they filmed it in the moon.
They went and filmed. Okay.
Yeah.
2 is what?
2 is they went to the moon but filmed it in a studio.
In the studio. Okay. And 3 is never happened.
Never happened. They just sent a rocket into space, but there was no astronauts in the rocket. So
okay, here we go.
Look, it could easily be staged. You can easily send a rocket into space. They do that 1,000,000 times, to send satellites.
Okay, so let's guys, everybody that's watching here. 1, they went and filmed. 2, they went but in a studio, and 3, it never happened. Okay, stop. You can't put 4 down, Arnold. There's no number 4. So let's see what you guys come up with here. We'll do a little bit of tallying here in a moment. This is very interesting to see what our audience actually thinks about this. I'm quite well, let's see. I mean, it was, you got to remember, it was a very, very tense time. I mean, there was a lot of things going on in the world back then, and to see what happened in that time of history. I mean, the Kennedy issues were happening, assassinations were going on, the space race, the Cuban Missile Crisis. I mean, oh boy, there was a whole lot of stuff to deal with, huh? And it was pretty hairy there. Okay, so let's have a look here. The consensus. So I've got 3 3s, 1 3 3 3 3 3 3 3 3 3s. 1 1 2 2 3 1 4 again. I love that. 4 again. 2s, 3s, 2s. So yeah, it looks like quite a mix. It looks like, probably, I would say probably 35% say they went and filmed, and about 20, well, maybe 25% maybe said they went, but in the studio. And then probably most, I would say not all, but probably about 40% of the people said it never happened. That's interesting.
Yeah.
Isn't that interesting, huh?
Yeah,
that is very interesting.
I mean, you have to understand the time they did it, because United States at the time needed a big win, because like you said, there was a lot going on, and there was a lot of people in despair. So they needed a big win, and this was a big win for them, whether it was staged or whether it wasn't. This actually really did. It was a cause for celebration. There was media sensation everywhere, and look, anyone can send a rocket into space. Iran sends a rocket into space, but yeah, you could easily stage it. It's not that difficult to do.
Well, what I'm going to do is I'm going to wrap this up. I'm going to let AJ have the last word. I always give you the last word, AJ. I always do. And what we'll do is we'll cue in the music, and we'll wind the show down after that. We're not going to do a hard cut. We never do that. We can let you guys chat amongst yourself. What a great interactive night here with the audience. I'm going to pass it over to you, AJ. And thanks, everybody. My name is Alex. I'm with iChongqing, and as well as Reporterfy Media. And if you're in from my audience, don't forget to subscribe to AJ's channels. All of that stuff is below there in the description box there. Once again, I want to thank you guys once again for allowing me to babble away. And what a pleasure it is to spend time here sharing the screen with AJ. Once again, here you go, AJ. This is your audience to shut it down. And when you hear the music cue in, don't let that distract you. Just let you know that I'm getting ready to let the audience ease out. Okay, thanks, AJ.
Thanks, Alex. And thanks for everyone for listening, coming to join our show. Thank you for all the moderators. Thanks a lot coming in, Frank. Thanks, Zugay. Who else have we got here? Let me see. Quantum, thanks for joining us, mate. And David, and anyone else? No, I think I've got all of them. But yeah, thank you for everyone else who have joined, and Penguin as well. Thanks for joining us, listening to us chatter away. Really appreciate you guys, the support you guys have been giving us. Really appreciate everything. Keep it going, guys. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and see you in the next one.